Keep My Office Clean is an emerging leader in providing office cleaning solutions in Morris County and its surrounding area. If you own, rent, or manage corporate space, then you understand that keeping the private and common areas clean and well-maintained helps create a pleasant and productive environment. Keep My Office Clean is one of New Jersey's top emerging cleaning companies, specializing in providing a wide range of services for your office space, including recurrent cleaning, carpet cleaning, floor waxing, power washing, and more. For more information, call 862-263-0626 or visit www.keepmyofficeclean.com.
You are listening to the New Jersey Business Podcast with your friend, host, all-around good guy, Paul Valverde. Now, on to the show.
What's shaking New Jersey? Welcome to another episode of the New Jersey Business Podcast. Today, we have once again as special guest, Anthony Weinkopff. Now, Anthony Weinkopff is a director and co-founder of Embrace Tutoring and Educational Services. I asked Anthony to join us once again in the podcast because he has so much value that he's bringing to all of us, sharing his experiences. He's been kind enough to share with us his defeats, his failures, the things that he's gone through that were difficult, and also the things that worked to help him grow his business. There will be opening a new branch in Princeton, New Jersey. They have also other physical branches as well as provide remote tutoring and educational services. Anthony, thank you for joining me once again, man. I appreciate you very much.
Yeah, Paul, it's good to be back. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
Anthony, so last time we talked about how you started your business, what you did before starting your business, kind of like what the initial phase was like. You share with us about your experience in growing your business organically, using SEO to your favor in order to bring clients, right? But you also mentioned that you work with a great group of people. You mentioned your partners as well as all the teachers or team members. So will you please share with us what is your client, your employee or team or talent attractions process, like from the very beginning, from the way you advertise all the way through like the onboarding?
That's a really good question. So we start with and granted, this took a lot of time to kind of figure out, and I encourage anyone to sort of go back and listen to the previous podcast, but we spent a lot of time developing our proof of concept and what we could do in order to bring value to our audience. And for those of you that don't know, Embrace Tutoring and Educational Services, we focus on providing academic roadmaps for students. We then match private tutors to those students and those families, and we intentionally try to tackle their various needs, right? Whether they're getting ready to apply to college, which is most often the most typical, and maybe they need to take either SAT prep or they have AP exams, maybe they have math enrichment or writing, or maybe college essays. We'll then match them with a series of educators who are experienced in those areas to then bring value overall to their experience. But I would say, so there's been a few key features that have made us really sort of stand out. The first is being very customer obsessed, right? Mainly family obsessed. We've done a lot of things where, every decision we make is what is in the best interest of the family, what's in the best interest of the student and the learning experience, what is in the best interest of the tutor, right, for the overall experience. And that can be anything from, we have smaller rooms on purpose, so it can be one tutor to one student. We might also have smaller classes to encourage more time per student. We do full-scale diagnostics where we actually provide a literal question-by-question breakdown. So if you took one of our diagnostics, you would get a full score report in advance, right? We've developed a YouTube channel and other social media channels such as like TikTok, et cetera, that we give, that provide hundreds of additional videos totally for free. But we also, again, we tackle it academic planning in addition to just private tutoring, because the families are just as often a little overwhelmed or a little confused, or they don't know where to start. So we'll bring in like financial planners, we'll bring in wellness specialists to sort of tackle the entire process holistically. So we've been fortunate in our, I guess you could say, our product development stage in that aspect, and that has led to a really strong word of mouth and various marketing campaigns. We've done a lot of content development and digital creation for marketing, and then for our tutors, to from a culture standpoint, I've been involved in education for a number of years. We've always believed that since day one, all of the tutors have a voice in the company, and I'd be happy to elaborate more. But simply speaking, we've always gone after educators or experienced educators first and asked them, "Hey, would you mind considering tutoring for us? Here's our mission. Here's our model." And we've gotten to the point now where many of them seek us out. So some of the best educators in the area will refer their friends or refer their colleagues, and that has made our life very, very easy in terms of finding sort of top talent. And then we treat those people well, and we treat those people right. So they've stayed with us for quite some time, which has allowed us to kind of grow, in a multitude of directions. Yeah.
You've mentioned something really important, right? Once you are able to create a culture, and you have the right team members in your team, right? The right people, those right people tend to hang out with people like them, right?
Yes.
Tend to socialize with people, their friends, their colleagues tend to be people who have alike qualities or interests, right? So if you have an employee or a team member who is a core value match to your company, it's very likely that in their sphere of influence, there's more people who are also a core value match. So I think that's pretty cool that through referrals, people are coming to you. How do you go about perhaps finding the first few, right? Like, how do you, because basically the approach that you've taken is not just put an ad like we're hiring, it's more like you've been scouting for talent, so to speak. Like, you've been looking for people who you would want as part of your family, as part of your team, as part of your company. So what was that like? Like, how do you go about that?
So we kind of we engineered it by design, where initially when I was first starting out and forming the company with my co-founders, I myself was an educator, and we had understood the parent audience that were typically coming to us first, and many of them were, I want to say, independent school families, and they were, in many of those independent schools, were some of the best in the nation, right? They were ranked the best in the nation. We knew why they were ranked best in the nation. We knew the qualities of those educators. We knew their credentials. Many of them have their masters and their PhDs, and they've been in education for quite some time. So we just said, well, those are the individuals that we want on our team, right? They're the best, they're the brightest. So we want to make sure to tackle it. And we do have a number of other public school educators, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, for initially when we were first sort of starting out, we said, this is our core audience of individuals that we're sort of immediately looking for, who can sort of fit and understand our parent clientele. That is also an important, right? And how to communicate well to our parents, and essentially people that have written actual progress reports for the types of parents that we have, and they have, and we formed that team initially early on by reaching out to them, either through email or perhaps various networking events or relationships, and one led to another, which is and many, we also offer incentives for our tutors to refer other really talented tutors within their sphere of influence, like you mentioned, and that has sort of led to the progress or the evolution of having core teams of people in various cities. and now we do hiring campaigns for various places depending on what the needs are. But yeah, it's been good.
So when you are doing a hiring campaign, sort of what's the system that you have in place for that? What do you put out, say, an ad that describes exactly what you're looking for? I'm assuming something that describes your culture and your clientele, etc. And then, like, what's the process that you follow in order to qualify them and to make sure that they are the right fit, and then bring them in? What does that look like?
There's obviously there's we consider their resumes, we consider their cover letters, we do all of that information, right? Which is that's pretty the standard. But then we want to have an honest conversation with them, usually by telephone or by Zoom initially. Before the official hiring process, we also like to meet with them. There's background checks that are performed. There's also a number of other kind of series of questions that we will ask within the application process to better understand who they are as an individual, and if they're kind of going to fit Embrace, right? One of the things I always loved about about Greg Popovich, because I'm a big NBA fan, is that Greg Popovich actually has a rating system and this is how he's been able to attract like really top talent like across the world, where it's like Manu Ginobili or Tony Parker or Tim Duncan, and it doesn't matter really how talented someone is, there's a little checkbox at the end of the day. It says not a Spur. And we have a lot of people that we run into who are very good at what they do, right? They're very good teachers, but they not necessarily may not be an Embrace educator, because they may not fit our mold of really what we're looking for, and they may not fit our system, or more or less maybe they just don't have the time to really dedicate to what some of our parents or some of our families require, because a lot of our tutors really love what they do, and they're not opposed to going the extra mile of sending a progress note or checking it with families, or maybe their test prep score was not exactly what they had hoped. It went up, right? It was a 1500 and not a 1520, right? And so a lot of our tutors, they understand because they care, and they always have the best intentions of the family. And if we are working with tutors where maybe it is just, I am just trying to tutor and I'm not trying to really kind of build those relationships with families long term, they're not always the best type of tutor for us. And we understand that early on, and that's not a problem.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, folks. I hope you're paying attention. Something that you said, Anthony, which is extremely important. Sometimes when people are hiring, they're like, I need X amount of years of experience, or I need whatever degree, but that doesn't always make the right fit. Like that doesn't make them the right person to become part of your culture, your family. They have to be a core value match. You have to make sure they're going to be able to join the culture and be able to provide the level of service that you're looking for, right? So I think that's incredibly important. That's super good that you're doing that as part of your hiring process, and I appreciate you sharing that, because folks listening, regardless of the business you have, I mean, even if it is manual labor business, you don't just want a warm body out there doing the work, right? You want someone who is gonna be part of your team, part of your culture, who's gonna contribute to that, because that's gonna make the work environment much more pleasant, but it's also going to enable you to provide a higher quality of service, and it's going to be people who are going to represent you well, because they're going to stand for what you stand for. So thank you, Anthony. I appreciate you sharing that. There's also something else you said that caught my attention, and that you were talking about your parent audience, right? Because it's interesting, because you provide tutoring educational services, which in many instances is school age people, or
younger kids, or sometimes
a younger audience. However, the parents are the people who are paying for these services, right?
Yes.
So who do you target with your marketing? Do you target the children? Do you target the parents? Do you target both? How do you go about doing that? Because I think that's so interesting, how you will go about that.
Yeah, that's a really good question, because we're probably one of the few industries where the person you're selling to is not necessarily the person that's experiencing in the experience, right, or the service. And granted, we have a lot of students that they'll show up on a Saturday morning and my mom dropped me off for SAT prep. Right? So I think at heart, we try our best to keep the students as engaged as possible. We teach them various study habits and techniques, and things even regarding accountability, and we provide them with a list of resources. And when we're speaking with parents early on, it's very easy, and I personally never really feel like I'm selling, because I just feel like if the value is there and if they understand what it is that we're trying to provide, then it's fairly easy, and not every family is an Embrace family. We generally work with families who are very invested in education. They have a lot of questions. They appreciate their time. I'm sure their children could figure out everything regarding AP calculus, but they are coming to us to alleviate some of those things. Just like you could probably do every home renovation, right? DIY, but you call a professional to
Right.
sort of expedite that process. And that is exactly what we are doing for that. We're kind of trying our best to make the process a little less overwhelming, regardless of where they're applying to. And we're trying to improve or enrich their educational skills, whether it's like math or writing or reading or problem solving, etc. Trying to build that into our programs. And obviously good grades, right, are a part of that's a byproduct. Really what we're trying to teach is, regardless of the specialty, kind of how to write, how to problem solve, computational skills, and then getting good grades, and then thereby improving your GPA, or maybe having a higher acceptance rate to a certain school, which perhaps comes with more scholarship money, right, or merit scholarships, right? All those things kind of go together. But we start first with, let's sort of teach you how to learn. And a part of that with the students, because you mentioned kind of both, is really kind of showing them early on that we're a part of their team, right? We are there. The parents will bring us on, but we want to, like a good coach, we want to kind of inspire them to put themselves in a better place for the students, to show them, hey, that this is the journey. We understand it's going to be a little bit of a struggle. We know the people that make this test are probably not the best people, but we're in this with you. And at Embrace, everyone has an academic advisor in addition to the private tutors. They may have a college counselor, right? There's a lot of people that are involved in their success. And I think when the students realize that, they realize that, okay, well, I have such a support system behind me. My parents are behind me. Embrace is behind me. Mr. Anthony is sending me diagnostics and all these other resources. I should probably watch this video. It's very hard to fall through the cracks when you have so many individuals that are invested in your success. And
so many people in your corner.
Yeah, exactly. We have so many people in their corner that we kind of are really encourage them. And we don't define success by perfect scores or where they're getting accepted. It's just kind of progress. It's just them putting themselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually in a better place. So we try to have that same mindset when working with parents, where let's try to educate you a little bit more regarding the financial aid process, or maybe how college applications are going to work this year, right? Or, hey, by the way, the SAT is changing in 2023, 2024. Here's what you should expect, right? And like a good accountant telling you what to expect on your taxes, we're kind of providing that professional courtesy to our families, so that way they are aware of what to expect and how to make educated decisions in that process.
Anthony, so from the beginning, was your vision to provide that holistic service when it comes to tutoring and education? Or is that something that developed over time, that as you were providing, like as you were addressing needs, you noticed there were additional needs that needed to be addressed? How was that?
I wish that's such a good goal. I wish I could say yes, but no, it was not. No, my initial goal, because I was an educator at the time, was let's find the greatest teachers that we can, greatest experienced educators that we can, and build this network, and then sort of see where it goes, right, as a mechanism. And before starting Embrace, I mentioned that I was a teacher full time, and I was an academic dean, and I had all of these things, but I was also working privately with almost 40 to 50 students individually outside of teaching full time, and it was a full time load. So I felt as though, well, there's something here that I can, intrinsically kind of create and give back. But much of the model of Embrace today has come because of my co-founders, right? We've had really tough, honest conversations, and we've listened to our audience, and we've listened to our tutors. Sometimes we'll integrate systems because our tutors will say, I think this would be better, or we'll build back ends of certain diagnostics, or we'll use a certain book because our tutors will say, this is better. This is a better book. Let's use this one as opposed to this one, and we'll have honest conversations as opposed to why. So a lot of where we are today is simply because we've had those conversations, we've listened to each other, and we've built that culture of like trust and honesty, and it's, it hasn't failed us yet. So right, as we continue to innovate. Yeah.
I would assume that in your experience as a teacher, I believe that teachers are very in tune about, if a child is not doing well in school, it must be related to, how are they sleeping well? Is their nutrition well? Is everything okay at home? And it's interesting because obviously you take a holistic approach because you're realizing that there are many things that need to be addressed.
Yes.
But
Yes.
even as business owners, the same, like, it's like we lose sight of that. Like oftentimes people want to compartmentalize their life, and
Yeah.
they think that you could have a mess over here and have a mess over here, but but excel over here. And then reality is, like, for example, if physically you're not doing well, right? If you're not sleeping well, if you're not eating well, if you're not taking care of yourself, whether it's your medical needs, etc., it's going to be hard to thrive in business as well,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
if things are not going well in the relationships in your life, whether it be a spouse, friends, family, whatever, that's going to affect you as well. So it's important, even as business owners, to try to have balance in every
Yes.
area of life in
Yeah.
order to be successful in business as well. We help people out in business, and oftentimes what we tell them is, you came in thinking that we're gonna teach you, what to do, but really is we're gonna help you be the best version of yourself, and magically your business is gonna start thriving, right? Because the
Yeah.
what to do, like the things you check off a list, they're easy, they're not difficult, right? Is the other thing that is interesting. So I love the fact that you're providing that full range of service to ensure the success of your clients, of your students, and also their families.
Yeah, we do our best. And on a personal note, because you're talking about how sort of taking care of yourself, we do not have a minimum or maximum number of hours for our tutors for exactly that reason, because we want them to many of them have lives. Maybe they need to pause the actual, maybe they're coaching full time as well. So they'll we have over, I would say, close to 200 tutors within our network, who
Wow.
are various contractors around the country. But we also, the reason why it seems so high is because at any given point in time, some of them may not be tutoring, right? I would say, anywhere from 25 to 30% may not be tutoring, simply because they're right. It's not the season for them, or maybe they're coaching their son's little league team, and they say, okay, we'll call us in the spring when you guys are available. And we empathize that we want it to be more of a family, more than anything else. And that's something that we are working at every day now, to try to implement those things and build that culture, now that we're more back to face, whereas many of the tutors, especially during COVID, were acting autonomously, right? They were teaching from home, online, and we're trying to, as they're coming back to the office and they're seeing each other, we want to make sure that they are truly enjoying themselves and truly enjoy working with the students. And me personally, I do my best to kind of turn my brain off when I can, when it comes to, and anyone for that matter. If you're getting into business, the first few years, it's going to be a lot. You're gonna right. You're gonna work constantly, but finding time to exercise, read a good book, listen to a podcast, listen to this podcast from New Jersey, right? Business podcast, right? Those, you're gonna find ways of just sort of unwinding and enjoying yourself, to take care of your own mental well-being, which I think is very important, because sometimes the best ideas come out of just being in that zone of not really constantly thinking about business, and then instead you're inspired when you sort of see other things in the world around you. And that's what happened to us at Embrace. And I said, I feel like this would be a great idea to implement into Embrace, or I feel like we can take this idea in some way. And that's just because you allow yourself to just be in the moment and feel what's happening, and then how can you use this basically to bring value to others, and maybe you can incorporate it into your business. And we've just been lucky enough to do that.
Yes, you're right on 1,000%, Anthony. Right on. Thank you for that word of advice. That's super, super good advice for everyone that has an ear to hear. You want to get to that point where you have the time freedom. But in order for you to do that, you have to build the systems and the processes in your business. But it is good to unplug, to take from your business, to take care of yourself. However, it gets to that point where there's just that beautiful balance that you could be enjoying a time with your family, but you see something and you make that connection like, hey, I can implement this in my business. And you don't feel stressed out, burdened, like, oh my God, I can't stop thinking about work. It just is, it feels good because there is balance in every area of life. And
Yeah, it sort of gives you a little bit of a high almost, where you're like, wow, that's really like, but you also come to appreciate certain things too, like what they're doing in an industry, or maybe why they're leading a team in a certain way. And maybe you start following other leaders or entrepreneurs, and you kind of have a little bit more of an appreciation for what they do and why they do it. It does. It gives you time when you just allow yourself to be kind of present in the moment.
Yes, for sure. Anthony, we've reached the end of our time together here in this second episode that we're doing together. I want to say thank you very much, folks. The information to contact Anthony is going to be in the show notes. You're going to find it in social media as well. If I'm sure that there are teachers that may be listening that have heard you speak, and they're like, hey, I would love to be part of that team. I would love to be, we're going to list the information so you could reach out to them. And also, I'm sure there are parents who are like, hey, I would like my kid to be tutored by this great group of people who are serving holistically. So Anthony, once again, thank you very much. It is a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I really appreciate it, and best of luck to you in the podcast. Again, I'm a fan, so I'll be listening in.
Awesome.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the show, go to newjerseybusinesspodcast.com. That's newjerseybusinesspodcast.com. We can't wait to hear from you and your business. You can also visit our website to learn about sponsorship opportunities and how to qualify for a complimentary gift. Thanks again for listening to the New Jersey Business Podcast.
Keep My Office Clean is an emerging leader in providing office cleaning solutions in Morris County and its surrounding area. If you own, rent, or manage corporate space, then you understand that keeping the private and common areas clean and well-maintained helps create a pleasant and productive environment. Keep My Office Clean is one of New Jersey's top emerging cleaning companies, specializing in providing a wide range of services for your office space, including recurrent cleaning, carpet cleaning, floor waxing, power washing, and more. For more information, call 862-263-0626 or visit www.keepmyofficeclean.com.